it's one of the things you don't. I mean, I don't really watch this Project Greenlight because I actually can't, but I watch enough to understand what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And it's so hard to be the one. It's so unfair to be. It's like you constantly walking into a drug party where people sniff cocaine, and you're always the one who has to go, don't sniff cocaine. We can't have fun. And they look at you like, oh, look at you raining on our parade. You're always the asshole who has to point out that, like, poor Effie has to, like, be the person who says, okay, you cannot cast two people of color and make them the chauffeur and butler. Like, without her, they would have done that.
Right.
And instead of a thank you, I've just, like, right before we got on the phone, I fired some tweet at some idiot who is, like, abusing her and there's many of them. And that's beside the fact that Matt Damon doesn't like her. It's because
as someone who watches Project Greenlight, I mean, I feel like she's the hero of the film, of the show for me.
For all of us, I think she is. But there's so many people who don't understand it. And there's another aspect to it. There's her being a person of color, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the aspect of women. Women are generally not liked as being angry or outspoken or impatient, or like she comes off and people say, well, she irks me? And women say that. Well, she irks me.
Yeah.
Have you not watched the first episode where she was disrespected? Like, literally a white man interrupted her, shut her up, and taught her about diversity. That is probably as low as you can go.
I just would want to urge people to think about whoever this director is, the way that they're going to treat the only black person being a hooker who gets hit by her white pimp.
We brought up to each other. So I think on the surface, they look like one thing, but they might end up giving us something that we don't want. And when we're talking about diversity, you do it in the casting of the film, not in the casting of the show.
Whew. Wow, okay.
How do people not empathize what that does to a person? That from then point on, and I've been in those situations, you are always on the edge, because when you're in an environment where nobody respects you and nobody listens to you and everybody wants to go around your back, you automatically are defensive.
Right.
They have that reputation with certain people, like, she's difficult. I have friends in Germany, literally, as long as I've been alive. And every time I tell them a tale of a rumor, or they read something or so, they laugh because they can't even imagine. They can't imagine. Because my friends know me as an incredibly good and loyal person, and not somebody who raises their voice or is great, because they respect me and they don't interrupt me and tell me that my opinion doesn't count. If my opinion doesn't count as a director or as a producer, and everybody goes behind my back, I will fail at my job. And that's not good, because I'm a woman or woman of color, and I can't fail at my job. So it is so unfair to put women in a situation that makes them crazy and then judge them for becoming crazy, Well,
it's the idea too that, like, assertiveness in a man is a good leadership trait, but when you show that same assertiveness and you're a woman, you're automatically a bitch, and then you get shut down. I think that's the double standard in that kind of perception as well.
I mean, there was a major blogger the other day. He calls her an angry black woman. Like, you're literally so removed that you don't understand that it's the worst thing to call a black woman. It's on Wikipedia, it's on TV tropes, like, there's trope descriptions all over the internet. It's a racist thing to do, is what you not do. But 5 tweets on, well, it's just that she is, I don't like her tone. I mean, it's so unreal. And this is like, I like, do people not go to school? Do they not, like, is there no education about, at the very least, the things that they shouldn't be saying?
You can kind of, like, if you know how people usually edit reality television, they're clearly trying to paint her as the angry black character. There's always that character in a reality show. But like, the funny thing is, it's also where you're coming from as a viewer, because, again, as we were saying earlier, everything that she says makes total sense to me. And in fact, like, the director to me comes off as the antagonist, because he's the asshole who's always going around.
I think to all of us, this has really split the internet. I'm telling you, this has split the internet into people of color and women and the rest. Because I'm telling you, the only people who don't get it are white males and some white women. who are not in the business, but pretty much every woman who is in the business has been in that situations where, you know, she made so much for her to even get into position where she is now. How many times do you think she was interrupted by a guy?
Yeah, sure.
And by the way, I don't think it's that badly edited. I think now the focus is on their two antagonists.
Right.
But I think this is the way she is. And I think that if she'd be a guy, I thought back about the first season of Project Greenlight, you know, what's his name? Chris Moore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was like charming and that and stuff. But, you know, when
he was the same.
When he said this wasn't happening, there was no guy going behind his back to Matt and Ben. Because Matt and Ben wouldn't have played that game. But see, this is where the frat comes in. Because now this guy goes behind her and she's the outsider. And they don't see it, man. They call themselves such liberals and they cannot see it.
Well, and I think that's the definition of privilege, right? Like if you're aware of your own privilege, then you're not actually privileged. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that fine line between, like, you know, the people who are guiltiest of white privilege are the ones who don't think that they're distributing or displaying it, and I think that's kind of evident, and not just the people on the show, but like I think, like you were saying, the reaction in the internet, or not even the internet, just people who watch the show, people who talk about the show. There are those who sympathize with the director, and the director being the main character of the show, and those people who sympathize with him, I think, are the ones like you and I are saying, that don't understand why he's coming, like, to us he comes up as completely privileged and entitled, and he's basically, to me, like a whiny brat that's getting everything he wants and still not happy. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time talking about Project Greenlight. I do want to talk about your episode of Arrow.
Oh yeah, how did we even get here from Arrow, right? It's so on my mind because I'm about to murder people if they don't stop attacking Effie.
Effie's my favorite. Effie's my favorite. But yeah,
thank God, because I think she's gonna get a lot of I literally am thinking I gotta sit down and write a feature script just so I can send it to her, you know, because now I feel like we all need to reach out, you know.